Hi, my name is Christina Bakker. I'm an Extension Meat Science Specialist at South Dakota State University, and today I'm going to be doing a short presentation on the SARE partnership grant that we were awarded about enhancing small resources for small processors and building local meat processing demand. Going back to the 2020 COVID pandemic, we saw a lot of grocery stores that had retail sections that looked like this in the meat department. But what I want to talk to you about today is that those issues that we saw with limited meat available were not necessarily problems that were created by COVID, but they were more exaggerated. Those problems were part of the meat industry well before we had the COVID problem. We saw many labor issues. A lot of people do not want to be part of the meat processing industry. It's hard work and it's dirty work, and they just like to rather get their meat from the grocery store. And that's okay, but that results in having fewer people to do that work for us. When we saw packing plants start to shut down, we then saw a reduction in the packing capacity. Again, this was not anything new because we already had a labor shortage to begin with, so we already were working in a reduced capacity, and that was just exaggerated. However, these exaggerations resulted in large shortages of meat at retail. In addition to that, we saw a backed up supply of our live animals, as well as animals that were overfinished because you still need to feed animals even if they are not immediately going in for harvest. So what we were trying to do for this project was to create a program where we could teach producers what it would take to get into the meat industry while also building our repertoire of resources as well. So the first thing that we did was do several case studies. So the first case study was a renovated old facility that had a custom processing model, as well as it was under South Dakota State inspection. They had plans to build a USDA inspected facility, and they also had a retail space that was separate from their processing floor. They were additionally heavily involved in the beef farm to school program, so they were a part of several different avenues of moving their product. The second plant that we went to was a new facility that was built in 2019. It was both custom processing as well as USDA inspected, and they focused more on value-added products such as jerkies, snack sticks, and other processed meats. They also provided services like co-packing and private labeling. Their retail model was that they had a really cool retail space that they were able to see, customers are able to see into their production floor and see product being made, as well as see their dry aging cooler. Additionally, they had online sales and they sold more than meat. They sold the spices to go with the meat. They sold side dishes to go with whatever product the customers were buying as well. So two very different models that we were evaluating for those case studies. During this time, we also did several webinars. So we had a regulatory and inspection webinar to help get everybody onto the same page about what type of regulation was involved depending on the business model of a plant. Additionally, we looked at things such as business planning. How can producers get in touch with resources such as the Small Business Development Center to have a business plan and get help with that? We also looked into financing options and grants and where those producers can look in order to get some help with their business ventures. And finally, we spent a large portion of our time on operations and logistics. So this is where we found that we needed the most help as well in making sure that we were able to at least point our partners with this grant in the right direction to make sure that they were getting the resources they needed. So we looked at things like labor and talked to the Department of Labor. We had sessions on technical skills. Where can we learn those? We talked about construction and floor plans. We had somebody come in and talk about harvest and production schedules. We did a section on a mobile harvest unit, which was very popular at the time, but what are those benefits and drawbacks to having a mobile unit as opposed to a solely brick and mortar operation? We also had somebody come in and talk about interstate commerce. This processor had a product that was moved all across the western half of the US, and what challenges did she face there? And finally, we did bring in somebody to talk about equipment needs because meat processing equipment is not cheap, and basically to give an idea of what a processor was going to have to invest right off the bat. All of this ended up in the development of an online resource that we were able to share, which is the building of a meat processing facility and considerations to help you get started. This guide is more to open the conversation on a variety of different topics that somebody needs to consider before jumping in headfirst into producing a meat processing facility. And if you would like any more information about this grant, my contact information is on the screen. Thank you.